The massive hangar bay of the United Earth Space Command stood silent as Captain James Walker stared at what the aliens called a gift. Next to him, his chief engineer, Mike Torrey, scratched his gray streak beard, both men trying to hide their disappointment. The ship before them looked like it had been through a war and lost badly. "They can't be serious," Torres muttered, walking around a particularly large dent in the... "This thing looks ready for the scrapyard." Walker kept his face neutral, aware of the alien diplomats watching from the observation deck above. The ship was huge, nearly 300 meters long. It tall, a patchwork of different metal plates, paint peeled off in long strips, revealing the dull metal underneath. Several cargo doors hung at odd angles, and at least 2 of the 6 engine pods looked completely dead. Ambassador Reed, the alien representative, floated down to their level using his gravity belt. His long blue robes swished as he landed, and his face held what humans had learned to recognize as a smirk. "Is the gift not satisfactory? Captain Walker, this is, after all, a generous offering from the Galactic Council to help Earth join the spacefaring community." Walker fought to keep his voice steady. "We are grateful for the Council's generosity," he'd been warned about. This Earth was the new kid on the block, and some races didn't like how quickly humans had developed their own space technology. This gift was meant to put them in their place. Torres had already pulled out his tablet and was scanning the ship's systems. His eyes widened. "Captain, you need to see this." He handed over the device, and Walker's heart sank further. The power core was running at 12% capacity. The life support systems were barely functioning. The navigation computer looked like it had been purposely stripped of key components. "The vessel was recently decommissioned from our cargo," Fleet Ambassador Reed explained, his translator, making his voice sound artificially smooth. "We thought it would be appropriate for your level of technological development." Walker caught the insult but let it slide. He'd been a captain long enough to know when someone was trying to get under his skin. Instead, he turned to Torres and nodded. "Let's get a full team in here. I want every inch of this ship examined before we make any decisions." The next 12 hours were a flurry of activity. Engineering teams swarmed over the vessel like ants, scanning, probing, and documenting everything. Walker stood in what would be the bridge, looking at the empty spaces where key equipment should be. The aliens hadn't even left them proper control interfaces. Captain Torres's voice crackled over the comm. "You need to come to the engine room, now." Walker found his chief engineer standing in front of the massive power core, practically bouncing with excitement. Gone was the disappointment from earlier, replaced by a gleam. His eyes, that Walker had learned to both respect and fear. "Look at this tourist," pointed to the core. "They think they stripped it down, made it useless, but they don't understand how these systems work like we do. This isn't just a power core. It's a antimatter reactor. They're using maybe 2% of its potential because their systems are too specialized, too dependent on fancy controllers and interfaces." Walker raised an eyebrow. "And we can do better." Torres grinned. "Remember that fusion containment system we developed for the Mars colonies? The one everyone said was too crude, too simple. It'll work perfectly. Here we can bypass their control systems entirely. Run it our way. This thing could produce 5 times the power they got out of it. Maybe more." More engineers joined them, each bringing similar reports. The cargo bay doors they thought were broken. The hydraulics were fine. The aliens just relied too heavily on their automated systems. The dead engine pods, only dead because someone removed the control computers. The basic thrust chambers were intact. "They gave us exactly what we needed," Torres said, his hands moving quickly over his tablet. "They're so used to their high-tech solutions that they forgot about the basics. We can replace their control systems with our own, simpler, more reliable, and a hell of a lot easier to fix when something goes wrong." Walker watched as his team worked, their excitement growing with each discovery. The aliens had given them what they thought was garbage, but they'd actually given humanity exactly what it needed, a chance to prove itself. By the end of the first day, Walker had called a meeting with his senior staff. The holographic projector they'd brought in displayed a complete scan of the ship areas, highlighted in different colors, showing work priorities. "The hull is actually in better shape than it looks," Lieutenant Adams, the structural engineer, reported. "Those dents, they're cosmetic. The actual structure is a titanium-based alloy. we've never seen before. It's incredibly strong. Life support can be fixed. Another engineer added, we'll have to rebuild the control systems from scratch, but the core components are solid. Give us 2 weeks. We'll have it better than new. The cargo bays are massive, Torres said, highlighting several sections with a few modifications. We could make them modular, reconfigure them for different missions and hours instead of weeks. And those mining laser arrays, they left in Bay 3, with some tweaking. They'd make one hell of a point defense system. Walker looked around the room, seeing the same expression on every face. The aliens had tried to humiliate them, but they'd failed to understand something fundamental about human nature. Give humans a challenge. Tell them they can't do something, and they'll move heaven and earth to prove you wrong. I want repair schedules and resource requirements on my desk. By tomorrow morning, Walker ordered. And keep everything quiet. I don't want our friends upstairs knowing what we're really doing with their gift. As the meeting broke up, Walker walked to the observation window, looking at the ship that would become his command. Behind him, he heard Torres already arguing with Adams about power distribution systems and reactor containment protocols. Ambassador Reed's voice made him turn. The alien diplomat stood in the doorway, that same smug look on his face. Have you fully assessed your gift, Captain? I trust you understand. Now the challenge ahead of you. Walker smiled, and for the first time that day, it was genuine. Oh yes, Ambassador. We understand perfectly, and we're very grateful for such a thoughtful gift. I think it's exactly what we needed. The ambassador's expression flickered, just for a moment, showing uncertainty. Walker turned back to the window, hiding his satisfaction. Let them think they'd put humanity in its place. Let them think they'd handed Earth a piece of junk that would take years to make spaceworthy. They'd learn soon enough what humans could do, with a little inspiration and a lot of determination. This ship wouldn't just fly again. It would become something the galaxy had never seen before. Walker already had a name picked out for it, one that seemed more appropriate. With each passing hour they would call it Phoenix, and like its namesake, it would rise from its ashes to become something magnificent, something dangerous, something that would make the galaxy realize that humanity wasn't just another minor race to be pushed around. The real work was about to begin. 3 weeks into the Phoenix, Project Mike Torres stood in the engine room, watching as his team installed the new fusion control system. Sparks flew from welding torches as they connected the human-made controllers to the alien power core. The room hummed with energy and purpose, just like every other part of the ship. How's it looking? Captain Walker asked, ducking under a bundle of cables as he entered the engine room. Dark circles under his eyes showed he'd been sleeping as little as the rest of them. Torres grinned and pointed to the power readings on his tablet. Remember when the aliens said this core could only run at 12%? Watch this. He nodded to his team. Fire it up. The core light changed from a dull red to bright blue. The hum grew louder, and the deck plates vibrated slightly under their feet. Torres watched the power readings climb. 20%, 40%, 60%. Hold it at 70, Torres ordered. We don't want to push it too far on the first test. He turned to Walker. That's nearly 6 times what they got out of it, and we're not even at full power yet. Walker studied the readings. How did you manage this simple? Really? The aliens overcomplicated everything. They had 7 different computer systems, just to manage power flow. We replaced it all with one robust control system, based on our fusion plant designs. Less to go wrong, easier to fix, if it does. They walked through the ship, checking on other modifications. The cargo bay had been transformed. What were once simple storage spaces now had reinforced walls and quick-release clamps. Entire sections could be swapped out in hours. Watch this, Torres said, pressing a button with a hiss of hydraulics. Panels in the cargo bay walls slid aside, revealing rows of equipment hidden storage. We can switch from cargo hauling to other configurations without anyone outside knowing what we're carrying. Walker nodded approvingly, and the defensive systems Tor led him to. What used to be a mining storage area. The space was now filled with modified mining lasers, arranged in a circular pattern. Those lasers they left behind. Turns out the cutting beams are perfect for point defense. We've linked them to a targeting system based on our anti-missile technology. Anything small enough to get past the main shields won't last long. And our little surprise in Cargo Bay 3, Torres's grin widened. He pulled up a new diagram on his tablet. That's the best part. Remember those old electromagnetic railgun designs Earth was working on before we joined the Galactic Council? We built 6 of them into the hall. They look like standard cargo loading equipment from the outside. But he trailed off meaningfully. How powerful are they? Based on our calculations, they'll punch through standard shields like they're not even there. No one uses kinetic weapons in space anymore. They all focused on energy shields. They won't expect plain old metal moving at relativistic speeds. They reached the bridge, which had changed dramatically. Gone were the empty spaces where alien technology should have been. Instead, human-made control stations filled the room. Screens showed ship status, power levels, and sensor readings. Everything was practical, functional, and most importantly, reliable. We've installed backup systems for every tour, is explained. Manual overrides mechanical controls. If the computers fail, we can run this ship with hand cranks and eyeballs if we have to try finding that on a modern alien vessel. Walker sat in the captain's chair, running his hands over the familiar controls. How long until we're ready for a real test? 2 more days to finish the power core installation. Then maybe a week of systems testing. The aliens are still watching us, but they've gotten bored. They think we're just struggling to make basic repairs, as if on cue. Ambassador Reed's voice came from the bridge entrance. Captain Walker, I trust your renovation efforts are proceeding as expected. Walker turned slowly, his face carefully neutral. Yes, Ambassador, we're making progress, though it's challenging, with our limited technology. The alien diplomat floated into the bridge, his anti-gravity belt humming softly. He looked around at the human equipment with poorly hidden disdain. Indeed, the Council will be interested to hear how you're managing with such primitive solutions. Taurus caught Walker's eye and quickly adjusted some settings on his tablet. The bridge lights dimmed slightly, and several screens flickered, making everything look less stable than it actually was. We're doing our best with what we have, Walker said humbly, though we certainly appreciate any guidance you might offer. The ambassador waved a dismissive hand. I'm afraid I have more pressing matters to attend to. The Council simply wanted me to verify that you were actually attempting to repair the vessel. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Captain, do try not to damage it further with your experiments. The Council would be most displeased. After the ambassador left, Taurus reset the bridge systems to their proper settings. He didn't even notice the railgun mounts, or the modified sensor arrays, or the shield generators we've installed. They see what they expect to see, Walker said, and they expect us to fail. He stood and walked to the main viewport. How are the crew quarters coming along? Finished yesterday. We've got room for twice the normal crew. Complement if we needed. And the mess hall's better than anything I had on Earth ships. Adams even managed to get real gravity plating working. No more magnetic boots needed. Walker nodded, still looking out at the hangar. We're going to surprise a lot of people, Mike. This ship, what we're doing here, it's going to change everything. That's the plan, isn't it? Torres checked another set of readings on his tablet. Oh, and we finished the exterior work this morning. Want to see? They went to the hangar observation deck. The Phoenix's hull still showed its dents and scars, but now they looked almost intentional. The patchwork of different metals had been subtly rearranged, creating a pattern that broke up the ship's visual profile. The engine pods, once dead and dark, now pulsed with a soft blue light. We left the outside looking rough on purpose, Tess explained. Let them keep underestimating. But every dent, every path, every broken panel serves a purpose. Now we've even got sensor bafflers built into some of those skirt areas. Walker smiled. A wolf in sheep's clothing, more like a dragon, pretending to be a jumped cargo hauler. Taurus checked the time. Speaking of which, the next power core test is in 10 minutes. Want to stick around and watch us hit 80%? Wouldn't miss it. Walker took a last look at his ship. Soon, very soon, they would show the galaxy what humanity could really do. But for now, let them watch and doubt. Let them think they'd put humanity in its place with their gift. The Phoenix would rise when it was ready, and not a moment before the Phoenix moved silently through space, its scared hull reflecting the light of distant stars in the captain's chair. Walker watched the main screen as they approached. The trade route between the Centaur colonies and the main shipping lanes. Their first real mission was a simple one. Show the flag and prove the ship could handle basic patrol duty. Status report, Walker called out. his eyes fixed on the sensor readings. All systems running at optimal levels. Tour reported from his engineering station, power core, holding steady at 60%, more than enough for routine operations. The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. To anyone watching from the outside, the Phoenix looked like exactly what it was supposed to be. A barely functional hand-me-down, struggling to prove itself useful. The dents and patches in its hull told a story of decay, not danger. The alarm came without warning. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Lieutenant Rogers called from the sensor station. 507 vessels. They're not responding to identification requests. Walker leaned forward. Show me. The main screen lit up with tactical data. The ships were arranged in an attack pattern, spreading out to cut off any escape routes. Their energy signatures matched known pirate vessels that had been raiding this sector for months. They're charging weapons, Rogers reported. They're targeting our engines first. They think we're a cargo hauler. Walker allowed himself a small smile. Let them think that battle stations. But keep our weapons powered down. Let's see what they do first. The crew moved with practiced efficiency, taking their positions. Screens shifted to combat displays, but nothing showed on the outside of the ship. The Phoenix continued to drift, looking for all the world like easy prey. A harsh voice crackled over. The comm system, attention. Earth vessel. Your ship is now our property. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resist and we will destroy you. Walker pressed the comm button. This is Captain Walker of the Earth ship. Phoenix, we're a patrol vessel, not a cargo hauler. Power down your weapons and withdraw. Laughter answered him. A patrol vessel. In that wreck, you humans are more foolish than we thought. Last warning, power down. Now all stations battle ready, Walker ordered quietly. But hold your fire until my command. The first pirate ship fired, their energy weapons flashing across space. The shots hit the Phoenix's hull and dissipated harmlessly. No damage, Torres reported with satisfaction. Their sensors show our hull as standard metal. They have no idea about the energy dispersal layers we built into those patches. Two more ships opened fire, their weapons targeting the engine pods again. The shots seemed to do nothing more than scorch the already damaged-looking hull. They're moving closer, Roger reported. Preparing to launch boarding shuttles. Walker nodded. Let them get in. Nice and close. Torres, are the cargo bay doors ready? Yes, sir. They still think those are just battle damage. The pirate ships moved into position, surrounding the Phoenix. Their boarding shuttles detached, moving toward what they thought were vulnerable airlocks. Now Walker ordered the Phoenix came alive. The supposedly damaged cargo bay doors snapped open, revealing rows of point defense lasers. The modified mining beams lashed out with surgical precision, cutting through the boarding shuttles like paper railguns. Online tour is called out. Target solutions ready. Target. Their engines, Walker commanded, show them what primitive technology can do. The railguns fired. There was no beam of light, no visible energy discharge. Just the silent launch of metal projectiles accelerated to terrifying speeds. The first pirate ship shields flared brilliantly as they tried to stop the kinetic rounds. They failed. The projectiles punched through, tearing into their engine section. Direct hit, Rogers called out. Their power grid is failing. They're dropping out of formation. The remaining pirates tried to regroup, but they'd lost their advantage. The Phoenix's true weapons were now fully powered, and its engines, far from being crippled, roared to life, multiple targets attempting to flee. Rogers reported 3 ships powering up their FTL drives. Oh no, you don't, Walker said. Torres, show them our little surprise. Torres grinned and activated the gravity wave projectors they'd built into the hull's battle damage. The fleeing ships suddenly found themselves unable to enter. FTL, caught in localized gravity distortions that played havoc with their drive systems. All ships, this is Captain Walker. He broadcast, your vessels are disabled, your boarding parties are destroyed, and reinforcements are on the way. Power down your weapons, and prepare to be boarded this time. We'll be the ones coming to you. The battle was over in less than 10 minutes. As security teams secured the pirate vessels, Walker received an urgent communication from the nearest Galactic Council outpost. Ambassador Reed's hologram appeared on the bridge, his expression a mixture of disbelief and suspicion. Captain Walker, we've received reports of weapons fire along the trade route. Your vessel was supposed to be conducting a simple patrol. Explain yourself. Walker gestured to the captured pirate ships visible behind him. Simply doing our duty. Ambassador, we encountered pirates and dealt with them. 7 ships captured. No casualties on either side. Will there be anything else? The ambassador's mouth opened and closed several times before he found his voice. 7 ships. That's impossible. Your vessel is a decommissioned cargo hauler. It barely functions. Apparently it functions well enough, Walker replied mildly. Though we appreciate your concern. Phoenix out. He cut the transmission before the ambassador could respond. Tuis laughed from his station. Think they'll figure it out now? They'll certainly try, Walker said. But they'll be looking for advanced alien technology, hidden upgrades. We shouldn't have. They won't understand that we simply took what they gave us and made it better. The crew spent the next few hours securing their prisoners and documenting the battle word spread quickly through the sector. A human ship, one that looked like space junk, had single-handedly captured 7 pirate vessels without taking any significant damage. Sir Rogers called out later. We're getting unusual readings from the Council outpost, multiple ships launching. I think they're coming to investigate. Walker nodded. Let them come. Tourists power everything down to minimal levels. Let's look nice and humble. When they arrive, plain. Wounded bird again? Torres asked with a grin. Something like that. Walker looked around his bridge at the crew, who had helped turn a piece of junk into one of the most effective fighting ships in the sector. They gave us exactly what they thought we deserved. It's not our fault. They didn't understand what humans can do, with a little inspiration and a lot of determination. The Phoenix drifted in space, its battle-scarred hull hiding its true nature. Soon, the Council ships would arrive, would scan and study, and try to understand how they'd been so wrong about humanity's capabilities. But they wouldn't find what they were looking for. The real secret wasn't in the technology. It was in the human spirit that had turned their insult into triumph. The inspection team from the Galactic Council moved through the Phoenix, with scanner devices in hand. Their expressions growing more frustrated by the minute Captain Walker followed them, maintaining a helpful but confused appearance as they searched for secrets that weren't there. I don't understand, but the lead inspector said, waving his scanner at a perfectly ordinary wall panel. Where are the weapon systems, the advanced shields, the technology you must have stolen to defeat those pirates? Walker spread his hands innocently. As you can see, we're just using basic systems. Everything here was either part of the original ship or built with Earth technology. Would you like to examine our engine room? Next, the inspectors had been aboard for 6 hours, and they'd found nothing they could prove. Violated Council regulations. Every modification was documented. Every system was built with either salvaged parts or human technology. It wasn't their fault if no one had bothered to check what humans were capable of building. Torres met them in the engine room, carefully hiding his amusement as the inspectors searched for non-existent violations. Careful near the power core, he warned. We're running at minimal power, but the radiation shielding is still pretty basic. By your standards, the lead inspector snorted. Basic is an understatement. Your control systems are practically prehistoric. He turned to his team. Check the secondary systems. There must be something we're missing. The Phoenix's crew went about their duties, pretending not to notice the increasingly agitated inspectors. Walker was about to suggest they take a break, when the alert klaxon sounded Captain to the bridge. Roger's voice came over the intercom. Multiple hostile ships detected. Walker turned to the inspection team. Gentlemen, you'll have to continue your work later. We have a situation on the bridge. The tactical display showed 5 warships dropping out of FTL. Their design was unfamiliar, but their weapons were already charge message coming in. Rogers reported. A harsh voice filled the bridge. Earth Vessel Phoenix, you have interfered with our operations in this sector. The loss of our pirate allies has cost us greatly. Prepare to be destroyed. The lead inspector stepped forward. This is a Council inspection team. Stand down immediately. The only response was a beach of energy weapons. The Phoenix rocked slightly as the shots impacted minimal damage. Tor has reported they're using standard energy weapons our whole modifications are holding. Get those inspectors off my bridge, Walker ordered. Lieutenant Rogers battle stations Taurus. Power up everything they've already seen. What we can do. No point hiding it now. As security led the protesting inspectors away, the Phoenix came alive. Power surged through systems that had been dormant during the inspection, and hidden weapons emerged from their concealment. Enemy ships are spreading out. Rogers reported they're trying to surround us, like the pirates did. Walker smiled grimly. They did their homework. Too bad they learned the wrong lessons. Tours show them our new tricks. The Phoenix's engines flared, but instead of trying to escape the encirclement, the ship drove straight at the nearest enemy vessel. The enemy commander, expecting them to behave like a normal patrol ship, was caught off guard. Railguns 1 through 3, target their bridge. Walker commanded 4 through 6, target their engines. Fire when ready. The railgun spoke, sending hypersonic projectiles streaking through space. The enemy ship's shields flared brilliantly and failed their advanced energy shields, designed to stop. Energy weapons couldn't handle the simple kinetic force of metal slugs moving at relativistic speeds. Direct hits. Rogers called out. Enemy vessel is disabled. The remaining ships opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams and plasma bolts hammered the Phoenix, but its patchwork hull, now revealed as sophisticated armor, held firm. They're trying to overload our shields. Tour is reported from engineering, but they don't realize we're not using standard shield configurations. Each hull plate is its own independent defense system. They can't overwhelm them all at once. Walker nodded. Time to show them what else we've added. Deploy the drones. What the enemy had assumed were simple debris chunks attached to the Phoenix's hull suddenly detached and came to life. Dozens of small automated craft swarmed out, each carrying a miniaturized version of the mining laser point defense system. The drones attacked from multiple angles. They're simple but effective weapons, cutting through the enemy ship's own point defense systems. They weren't trying to destroy the ship. Ships just disable their weapons and engines. With precision strikes, Sir Rogers called out. 2 more ships, dropping out of FTL. They're their Council warships. The Council vessels arrived just in time to see the Phoenix, the ship they dismissed as junk, systematically dismantling the superior force. The inspection team, watching from a secure compartment, couldn't believe their eyes. This is impossible, the lead inspector muttered. They're using mining lasers as weapons, cargo bay doors as shield generators, repair drones as attack craft. None of this should work, but it did work within minutes. The attacking ships were disabled, their crews surrendering to the combined forces of the Phoenix and the Council vessels. Ambassador Reed's hologram appeared on the bridge, his expression a mixture of anger and disbelief. Captain Walker, you will explain these modifications immediately. Medley, this level of military technology was not authorized. Walker kept his voice calm. Ambassador, we've broken no Council laws. Every system on this ship was either part of your original gift or built with human technology. If you'd like to discuss specific regulations we violated, I'll be happy to arrange another inspection. Another, the ambassador sputtered. Captain, you've turned a cargo hauler into a warship, more effective than vessels 10 times its size. This cannot be allowed. Why not? Walker asked. Simply because we did it differently than you would have, because we found solutions. You never considered the Council gave us this ship as a lesson in humility. We learned that lesson, but perhaps not the one you intended to teach. The ambassador's hologram flickered as he struggled to respond. Behind him, Walker could see other Council members gathering their expressions, ranging from concern to grudging respect. This isn't over, Captain Reed finally said. The Council will need to reevaluate humanity's position after this incident. We look forward to the discussion, Walker replied politely. Phoenix out. As the hologram faded, Taurus looked up from his engineering station. Think they'll try to take the ship from us? Walker shook his head. They can't. Not now. We've proven what we can do with their cast-offs. Imagine what they think we could do with actual military hardware. Sir Rogers called out. We're getting messages from other Earth ships. They want to know how we modified our systems. Apparently, every human vessel in the sector is suddenly very interested in basic technology. Walker laughed. The Council had tried to put humanity in its place by giving them garbage. Instead, they'd given humanity exactly what it needed, a chance to prove that innovation and determination could overcome any technological gap. Send them the specifications, he ordered. Let's show everyone what humans can really do. When someone tells us we can't do something, the Phoenix hung in space, its battle-scarred hull, now a badge of honor rather than a mark of shame. They turned scrap into strength, insult into innovation, and this was just the beginning. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with activity. Representatives from 100 worlds gathered to discuss what many were now calling the Phoenix Incident. Captain Walker stood calmly at the center of the chamber, his dress uniform crisp and neat. Behind him, Engineer Tor shifted uncomfortably in his own formal wear. The council leader, a tall figure with silvery skin, raised his hand for silence. We have reviewed the events of the past 3 months. The Phoenix, a vessel given to Earth as part of their integration into the galactic community, has become something unprecedented. Walker kept his face neutral, as images appeared in the air around him. The Phoenix in battle, its supposedly primitive systems, defeating advanced warships, the modified cargo bays, transforming for different missions, the hybrid power core, outputting energy levels that should have been impossible. In that time, the council leader continued. The Phoenix has captured 23 pirate vessels, prevented 4 raids on colonial worlds, and successfully defended itself against a military-grade attack force, all while using what we considered obsolete technologies. Ambassador Reed stepped forward, his usual smugness replaced by a careful diplomatic smile. The council must consider the implications. Humanity has demonstrated unexpected capabilities. Unexpected, a voice called out from the gallery. A ship captain from one of the older races stood up. They'd done more than that. My crew studied the records of their battles. They're not just using the technology differently, they're using it better than we do. Murmurs filled the chamber. Walker glanced at Taurus, who gave him a slight nod. They'd known this day would come, ever since their first victory. Would the human captain explain his methods? The council leader asked. Walker stepped forward. There's nothing to explain that. We haven't already shared. We took what you gave us and looked at it with fresh eyes. Where you saw limitations, we saw possibilities. He gestured to the images floating around them. You gave us a power cord you thought was too primitive to be useful. We stripped away the overcomplicated control systems and found something remarkable underneath. You left mining lasers in the cargo bay because they were outdated. We turned them into one of the most effective point defense systems in the galaxy. Tories added, every modification we made is documented. Every system we built uses either parts from the original ship or technology we developed on Earth. We didn't break any rules. We just solved problems differently than you would have. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some representatives argued for restrictions on human innovation. Others demanded access to Earth's engineering techniques. Through it all, Walker and Tori stood quietly waiting. Finally, an elderly member of one of the founding races stood up. I remembered, she said, her voice cutting through the noise, when our own races were young, when we solved problems with creativity, instead of relying on established communications. Perhaps, we have forgotten something important. The council leader nodded slowly. Indeed, Captain Walker. Your ship was meant to teach you humanity, humility. Instead, you have taught us a valuable lesson. The council recognizes that we may have underestimated Earth's potential. We're not asking for advanced technology, Walker, replied Weck, not even asking for an apology. All we want is to be treated as equals, to contribute what we can to the galactic community in our own way. And what way is that? Ambassador Reed asked. Unable to keep a slight edge from his voice, Taurus stepped forward. By remembering that the simplest solution is often the best. By not letting our tools think for us. By keeping backup systems that don't need computers to work, he smiled. And by never assuming that something is worthless, just because it's not the latest model. The council spent hours deliberating. When they finally reached their decision, it wasn't what anyone had expected. The council leader stood. We hereby establish a new division within the Galactic Defense Force. The Phoenix and its crew will lead a joint training program, teaching their methods to ships from all member worlds. Additionally, Earth will receive full access to galactic technology, not because they need it, but because they've earned it. Ambassador Reed looked like he'd swallowed something sour, but he nodded in agreement. The council recognizes that different approaches have value. Earth's methods, while unconventional, have proven highly effective. As they left the chamber, Tors grinned at Walker. Think they'll ever admit they were trying to insult us with that ship? They don't need to, Walker replied. The results speak for themselves. Back on the Phoenix, The crew gathered in the mess hall to celebrate the ship that had been meant as a joke was now officially recognized as one of the most effective vessels in known space. More importantly, it had opened doors for all of humanity. Message from Earth. Command. Rogers called. Out there starting production on 5 more ships, using our modifications. They're calling it the Phoenix class. Walker looked around at his crew, at the ship that had become so much more than anyone expected. The scared hull now bore its damage, proudly, each dent and patch, telling a story of human ingenuity and determination. You know, Torres said thoughtfully, we could probably make her even better now that we have access to advanced technology. Walker shook his head. We'll keep her exactly as she is. Let her stand as a reminder that it's not about having the best technology. It's about how you use what you have. The Phoenix's story spread throughout the galaxy. Other races began studying Earth's primitive solutions, learning that sometimes the old ways, the simple ways, were still valuable. Some even started stripping down their own ships, replacing complex systems with more reliable alternatives. In the end, the Council's attempt to humble humanity had backfired completely. They'd wanted to teach humans their place in the galaxy. Instead, humans had taught the galaxy that true advancement wasn't just about having the newest technology. It was about understanding the technology you had and using it creatively. The Phoenix continued to patrol the space lanes, its scared hull and jury-rigged systems, now a source of pride rather than shame. It stood as living proof that with enough determination and ingenuity, even scraps could become something extraordinary. And if sometimes Ambassador Reed passed the ship in his sleek diplomatic vessel and remembered his own smug certainty about humanity's limitations, well, that was just an added bonus.